Hello friends, and welcome to this new session of creating a virtual private cloud, which is also known as the VPC, step by step. So in these particular sessions we are going to see how we can create a VPC, a virtual private cloud, in AWS environment. So when you create a VPC, that VPC needs to be created in a particular region. Okay, so you can create a VPC as per your environment as well. Like for the dev environment, you created a VPC, okay, in which you provided a subnet, which is known as the public subnet or private subnet. The public subnet and the private subnet, how can we identify that this is the private subnet or this is the public subnet? The private subnet related resources or private subnet is not linked with the route table which have the internet gateway. Okay, so you can see that in this particular both are the public instance. None of them are, because both are associated with our route table which have the internet gateway. It clearly means that both are the public instance, public subnet. Okay, and when we have the private subnet, that private subnet also have the route table. Okay, but there is no route available for the internet gateway. So none of the instance that lie in the private subnet will be accessible in the open domain. Like public will not able to access it directly. That's why for the database we create always in the private subnet, not in the public subnet. And the system that is accessible to all the world have the instance we keep on the public subnet, which have the route table associated, which have the internet gateway. Okay, so on the basis of route table and the route available in that table, we decide that this particular subnet is the public subnet or this particular subnet is a private subnet. Both have the public IP and the private IP. Okay, we define the CIDR range. The CIDR range we define from the top level. When we create a VPC, at that time we decide how many instances we need to create in that particular VPC. On that basis, we do a slicing. You can see the slicing by creating a subnet. Okay, and the subnet we can associate with the any particular availability zone also, or it's depend upon the preference whatever the cloud provider will allocate, or we can do it manually as well. So in this session we are going to see all these things, like how to create a VPC, how to create a subnet, okay, what CIDR range we are going to provide. It's depend upon the requirement. Okay, so we will also see how to create a route table. Let me show you. So these are the steps we are going to perform for today's session. Like first we will create a VPC. We will provide a name and provide the CIDR range, okay, for the IPs that we are going to use for that particular VPC. Okay, we will create a subnets, okay, and we will create an internet gateway and attach it to the VPC that we created manually. Okay, this is not the default one. Create the route table, okay, attach it to the VPC as well. Create a route inside the route table for the internet access. Okay, so in this particular route we are going to assign internet gateway to that particular route table, okay, and associate that route table to the subnet that we created. We will create a EC2 the security groups, and then we will create the EC2 instance and deploy the Apache server. And this particular EC2 instance we will use this particular VPC and the subnet, the public subnet that we created. So in this session, for simplicity, we are only creating one public subnet. Okay, we are not creating the private subnet. In later video we can see how complex we can make our VPC environment. Okay, so in this session we are going to cover all these 8 points. Okay, so here you can see that we have the environment, okay, which have only the one default VPC, and for any creations of the instance goes into the default VPC. If we remove this VPC, then we are not able to create any instance. First we need to create default VPC. That's why when you accidentally delete this VPC, the default one, so you can see this is the default one. Okay, so in that case, the Amazon will provide you a link to create a default one, default VPC. Because this particular VPC is required. At least one VPC is required to create an instance, because where you want to create that particular instance, when you have an account, then that account always have a VPC, either the default one or you can create it manually as well for your own requirement. So in this particular session, we are not going to use the default one. We are going to leave it as it is, and we will going to create a new one. Okay, so either you can go from here, create a VPC. Okay, and we are going to leave as it is, VPC only, VPC and more. This is for other requirements, and I am going to put here the VPC, demo VPC. You can put any name as per your requirement, demo VPC. Okay, and okay, in the IPv4 only. The CIDR range we are going to provide here the 10.0.0. All the object will be 0 /16. Okay, so this will be our CIDR range. You can access any website to check how many particular IP we will get allocated in that particular. I am taking the maximum one. Okay, so the tenancy is default, it's absolutely fine, and we create a VPC. So you can see that the VPC is not created. So when you go to the inside the VPC, you find that the demo VPC is now created. This one is the default name one. Okay, after that, so this is the point that we covered. I am just marking it as a done, and now we have to create a subnet. Okay, so we will going to create a public subnet here. This all subnets is linked with the default VPC. Okay, so I have to create a one. We have to select the demo VPC that we created. The name of the subnet is public. This is the only subnet. I am just mentioning the public word because for our understanding that this is the public. But the public and the private subnet will be decided on the basis of the route. Okay, the internet gateway inside the route table. So which particular route table is assigned and have the internet gateway is the public subnet. Okay, the preference, okay, yes, AP South 1A I'm going to select, and for the range 10.0.0.1/24. Okay, so I think it will provide me a 251 IP. 4 is reserved, 4 or 5 is reserved. Okay, all the things fine. I'll create a subnet here. Okay, so okay, you can see that 251 IP. So we can create a 251 instance inside this particular subnet. Okay, so this point is also done. We created a subnet. Now we have to create the internet gateway and attach it to the VPC. The internet gateway, we are going to create one for our use, demo internet gateway, IGW. Okay, and the name is also provided here. Just create it. All we are doing in the Mumbai region. Okay, so internet gateway created. Internet gateway, the demo one, and actions, attach it to the VPC. The VPC that we are using, the demo VPC, because the default one is already have the linking with the internet gateway, so don't need to assign the two. It's not allowed, so that's why it's provided only the default one. Attach the internet gateway. Okay, so this part is also done. Create a route table and attach it to the VPC. Okay, so when we create a route table, it always asks for which particular VPC you are going to use it. So we are going to create a route table demo. Look, here it's asking for the VPC to select. I selected one default, not the default one, the demo VPC. The name is also skip tag. Create a route table. Okay, so you can see by default this particular route have one CIDR range, and this is for all the VPC. Okay, so that the instance in the public subnet and the private subnet will talk each other, but that is not open for the open world. Okay, for that we have to assign the internet gateway. Okay, and so this particular part is also done. We created, okay, create a route in the route table for internet accesses. Okay, so for this we have to edit the route and add the route. We are going to take all the IPs because this is for the internet gateway, and from here we have to select the internet gateway, and this was the default one which we created, and just save the changes. So you can see that the route table, we already have the route. Okay, this is the internet gateway, so that when we assign this particular route to the subnet, the public subnet, then that particular subnet will be the public one. Okay, so in that way we come to know that, okay, this this subnet, okay, don't talk about the public and private, this subnet have the route that have the internet gateway. It means that this is the public subnet. Okay, and it's open to the world, so whatever the instance we keep in that particular public subnet is accessible from the outside world. Okay, so this particular point is also covered. Create route in the route table for internet access. This is also done. Associate the route table with the subnet. Okay, this is the part that we have to assign to the subnet. Okay, so we have to go to that particular subnet and we have to edit it. Edit subnet and select the public one, and we are selecting the public subnet and assigning this route which have the internet gateway. Now this subnet is the public subnet. Okay, at this point we are linking, so making that subnet which we are assigned a name as public, now it is a public subnet. Okay, before that it's not a public subnet. So this point is also covered. Now we have to create a security groups. Why we are going to create a security groups? Because we are going to create an instance, and that instance, for that instance we are going to assign the security groups, where we are assigning HTTP to HTTP code and SSH, so that we can establish SSH connections for that particular instance, and that particular instance, if that had the web applications, that is accessible to the outside world. So in this particular demo, we are creating the EC2 instance and deploying an Apache server for our testing. So we have to create security groups inside that particular VPC which we created, demo one. Okay, so if you go down security groups, you can see all the security groups that created till date have the linking with the default VPC. Okay, this is the default VPC. Now we are going to create a new one. Okay, so we are going to create a security groups. Here we are going to create as a demo SG. Okay, and assign a name like allow SSH and HTTP. So this is a good name that this will guide us. Okay, this particular security groups that is used to allow the SSH and HTTP. For that we have to assign the inbound rule as well, and for this we have to create inside the for the demo VPC. Okay, And we are going to add the rule. Here we are going to allow for the SSH and from the anywhere for simplicity, and add another one for the HTTP. Okay, for anywhere. Okay, so all things looks good. If you want to provide a name, you can provide name demo SG. Okay, create a security groups. So this will create a security groups. You can see the demo security groups, and this is for the other one. Okay, so when we create a VPC, for one default security groups also get assigned for that particular VPC. So you can see the two is already available here. But in this particular demo, we are going to use our own security groups. Okay, which fulfill our requirement. We are not going to do the changes, or we can do that also, but this is not a good practice. Create your own security groups as per your requirement. Okay, so this part is also done. Now I have to create a EC2 instance. Okay, and using the you can say the bash script, we are going to create we are going to install Docker, and then we are going to pull the images, and then create a Apache server for that. Okay, that will be accessible outside the VPC environment. Okay, so for that we have one bash script. So if you see that this script, this is a very simple script. We are just updating the environment, the Linux machine we are going to choose. It will install the Docker, okay, and it will just start the services, and then it run the Docker pull command and just pull the Nginx for the Alpine version, okay, and then it will create a container. So I hope that you all are familiar with these all creating the container. So you can see that we are using the images, and this is the port, the 8080. Okay, so this is the outside port, and this is the container port, and we are going to create a container using that particular images. Okay, so let me copy it. This is the very simple script, you can say. And I will go to this particular environment here. I go to EC2 instance to create the machine in the public subnet. For that, I am using this script in the user data. Reload it. Okay, it's running. Launch an instance. I'm using the Amazon Linux 2. Then T2 micro, that is fine for me. And here we have to do the changes. Okay, the first changes is I'm going to create this instance into the demo VPC. Okay, we only have one particular public subnet. Okay, we don't have the private one that we will create in the later video. Okay, and auto assign, we will enable it so that the one public IP will auto assigned. Okay, if you go below, you will find a user data where we have to paste that script, okay, as it is. Okay, fine. Now we are going to add the storage, add tags, name will be web server. Okay. Now creating existing security groups that we created just now. This is the demo SG. Okay, you can see the rule also, HTTP and SSH from all the sources. Review and launch. If you don't have the existing key pair, you can create one and launch the instance. So it will launch the instance, and when the instance get launched, so as per our data script, okay, So this part is also done. I will just marking it. So when this particular instance get created, this particular script get run automatically. It will update it first, okay? Then install the Docker in that machine. Uh, because we are not creating the raw instance, we are creating the raw instance. After that we are running some script as well. So when the instance get launched, these all scripts will run automatically, okay? So it will take time 1 or 2 minutes. So it will start the Docker services, and then it start pulling the nginx from the Docker hub, and then create a container. Once the container will get created, then we can able to access it. So we have the mobile stream here. We can jump into that machines to check all the things get installed or not. So let me take the public IP, and we have the mobile stream here session. We will just paste the IP, the once SSH. We are going to use the M file. Okay, user will be the default user EC2. So instance get created, and let me increase the font size. Okay, clear it. Sudo co. Okay, and we will see that the Docker yes. So you can see that one container is already running that we created about a minute ago. 59 seconds is saying. So I think all things are running good. It's running fine. Let me access it. So you can see that the nginx is accessible and it's running fine, because what we did, we created a EC2 instance and put it into the public subnet, and the public subnet is associated with the route table, okay, that have the internet gateway route available, and that's why we are able to access it. Let me show you. I am going to delete internet gateway, okay, and then we will check it again. So for this I am going to the route, okay, the VPC domain. Okay, so we have the route table here, the demo route, and it have availability of the internet gateway, and we are going to edit it and we are going to remove it. Okay, so this particular subnet have the route table associated which don't have the internet gateway, okay, then internet gateway. So these particular machines that I just created, now it's able to connect with the any of the other machines which lies inside the VPC, but that machine will be not able to interact with the outside world. Currently we seeing that it's we are going accessible from outside, but now things will change. So you can see that it's the circle is revolving and it's not accessible. Okay, so let me show you again. Now EC2, go to the EC2 machine, instance, running instance. We will going to pick the IP, and then again we are going to put it here, because I removed the internet gateway, and you can see it's not accessible. Why it's not accessible outside the world? Because the instance that we created inside the public subnet, which I called it as a public, is not the public anymore. It's not in the route table that associated with that public subnet don't have the internet gateway. That's why I told you, on the basis of the route table we decide that which particular subnet is the public one and which is the private one. The public subnet have the route table associated which have the route of internet gateway. So let me do it again. Let me go to the VPC. Now the route table. This is the demo route. Okay, and now I'm going to edit it, adding the route for all the IP port, and here I'm selecting the internet gateway and selecting and saving it. Okay, it's saved. Now refresh this page. So you can see that we can able to access it. So that's it for this particular session. So if you guys like my video, please subscribe to my channel. I will keep on updating the new services for the AWS, and for the VPC I will do more things, make more complex in the coming video by creating the private subnet, and then we will do all these things like how to interact with the S3, how to interact with the DynamoDB tables. So these are all things we are going to see in the further video. So give me a thumbs up if you really like my video, and share it with your friends. If you didn't subscribe my channel yet, please do subscribe it. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you.